building citizenship skills, accepting tolerance of others, including all kinds of people, developing skills, social skills, long been a part of what the playwork profession is concerned with, and a sense of co-responsibility for the community and for its maintenance comes from this kind of being together in public space. A little word about participation, because this was kind of conceptual background to where I'm going. Participation, there's a strong movement in Europe to fulfill children's rights to participate through all kinds of consultations, kids speaking on everything to do with their lives. Okay, some of that's been useful, although it's very criticized in the UK for being tokenistic. But even deeper than that, let's think about what it means in terms of building civil society and democracy compared to the enormous erosion of children's non-formal contact with each other and with adults in their own communities. That was participation too. It wasn't called participation, didn't have a name for it, it was unself-conscious, but that's how kids came to know other kids and adults and to feel part of a community and have some solidarity with it. Not by sitting on a committee once every 5 years. So let's remember that, let's keep that in mind. And if the goal of all the talk about children's participation is to fulfill children's rights and strengthen civil society, then there is a need to rebuild the recognition that public play settings are important for that. And although I really like the play consultation document, it could even be stronger if it stressed this. If it doesn't just stress individual children's development, but it talks about what this all means. Having successful public space for children and adults also means reproducing civil society. So it's bigger than just children. It's much bigger. Okay, so what kind of public space do we need for a child-friendly community? It needs to be safe and accessible and close to home. Lots of work being done on that in the UK. Well, not lots, but interesting work. We'll talk about that. Public space that's physically diverse. Diversity means choice. We'll come to that. Public space where children are not entirely segregated from adults. When one of the sad aspects of the development of playgrounds has been this tendency, just like schools, to kind of industrialize children, segregate them off by age group, from adults and even from different ages of children. And public space that is socially inclusive. Okay. Let's deal the first one at a time. We need to understand the kind of complex set of factors that lead children to not go outside. And I'm going to make the argument that that's why we've got to solve these problems locally with people. It's the only way to do it in a participatory way. When I say nobody fully understands the complex mix of these factors, I mean that if you're trying to sort out in any neighborhood why children do what they do in terms of play, you need to understand everything from who are the caretakers, how much are they at home, what are the local dangers, what are those dangers as they're perceived by the caretakers, what are the fears parents have and children have in that particular neighborhood, what is the particular land use mix that's available, what is the traffic circulation, blah, 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 blah. You need to know all of this stuff, as well as to know what the institutional provisions are and non-institutional provisions in terms of play space. That's complex. For me to understand that complexity, one of the few studies that ever looked at child rearing and the perspectives of parents regarding children that is really, really good was done in Nottingham. And I say this not just because I'm a chauvinist. I grew up in Nottingham. This study by a nuisance was done in the 60s. It's that old, but it's still very relevant. And it's sad that we don't do this kind of research anymore. Social scientists just don't spend the time working with large numbers of children and parents in depth. They tend to be like one-shot studies that don't really give us, they're one-shot studies, but they're not even in-depth one-shot studies. So, you know, as a standard response to children being on the street, playgrounds are created, right? So, you know, this is a Nottingham playground. Kids continue to play, as they do all over the world, on the street. This was because they were close to home. You know, it's hard to for young children to want to, I mean, young children never want to be that far away from parents, contrary to popular ideas. They want to have independence, but they don't want to have that much removedness. And on the streets, there would be opportunities for non-formal interaction all the time. When children, like this 3-year-old girl and this boy who's about 6, 7, go away from the house, which is they did there might be a parent watching, but very often not. Going to the chip shop, very young kids, or to the corner store was norm. These things have all changed, right? This kind of independence. Corner stores used to be very important pillars of local civil society. They were really important social interaction locations. And planning policy and design zoning policies influences that, whether they're available or not. So those decisions can be made and have massive importance for children. But just to get the point that it's a complex story, different parents think differently about this. It's not just that they have different lives with different demands on them. They also have different mentalities, different beliefs about how children grow up and what the role of play is in that, and different ideologies about it, whether they care, whether it's important to stress or not. In this particular study, there were 5 social classes, 900 parents. It's an amazing study. And what they found was that, I won't bother with the detailed social class breakdown, just look at this one in terms of the middle class and upper class compared to the working class. These differences may not seem normal, but they were actually highly significant. And what you see is that the girls, of course, were less likely to roam outside than the boys. Right? So these are the girls, 81 compared to 67%. And the middle class, much less likely to let boys or girls roam outside than working class. Now, why is that? Well, even answering that's complex. Because the Newsons admitted that with terraced housing, kids would often be put outside, not because it was ideologically desired, but because there was not enough space inside. They'd play on the street. Also, they went one step further. As you'll see in a few minutes, they were encouraged to solve their problems on the street with each other, with other kids, without parent intervention. That was also a social class difference. There's always been differences in the degree to which parents believe in their children being in public space. It's just that now it's become really a serious problem. So many people who used to think it was okay for kids to be outside are worried that they're going to be considered bad parents if they let their kids play outside. I've heard that from this country. It's also true in my research in the United States. Being outside, even in a small town, is uncool. Downtown kids. So I think one of the things that is really good about what you've written, Mike, I can't remember whether this is your own writing or the play assessment document, but the recognition that there are 2 things that have to change if Wales is going to achieve the change it's now setting a course to achieve. One is to improve the environment and to do planning and design solutions, and the other is a change of parents' attitudes and so on. So, we have to do both together. And so I'm asking, what might it take for parents and others to realize that it's in the best interest for them to have trusted public space? What would it take for parents in this country to be as concerned as I am and many of you are about this issue? That's a big question. And is it achievable? Or have we just gone through a change in the 21st century? This is the future. And anybody thinking about community and public space is nostalgic and out of touch. What do you think? Those are the kinds of issues we should be debating. I personally think it's not going backwards to think this way. I think it's going forwards. Because we actually have ideas in the 21st century that are more inclusive and that do recognize rights more completely. It's just that we've gone backwards because of technological forces mainly that have led us to retreat in terms of public space. So I think this is a great challenge that Wales is taking on. And I hope you do it, because then there'll be a lot of other countries that will be influenced by it.